I swear to you, this is just about the wildest thing, and I'm not quite sure what to call it. Indicating, but as I'm pulling out the tripod and getting my camera set up to start filming this just now, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, and as I'm thinking about the dialogue, I'm literally experiencing it as if I've heard it before. Like I was writing the show notes for a different video, and I just happened to be thinking, like, why am I putting all this in the show notes? Why not just make like a whole nother video? And I'm sure that happens to a lot of content, whatever they call it, creators out there that like end up creating whole videos just based on their thoughts from a show note. Maybe I've heard that before, and that's why, like, when I was thinking about relaying that information in this video, I thought, man, I swear I've heard that before. Like, it sounds so familiar. But anyway, I was thinking about ownership more and how it pertains to the control and the desire for control that we have and the desire for ownership. It's inherent. The two are like feed off of each other basically. And how ownership in its essence is, I described it a lot in the video for which the show notes inspired this video, about it being so structured and rigid, phallic, like just absolute. I'm inspired to say fascistic, but I'm sure that the energy that inspires each is from a similar origin. So the desire for control, or the desire for ownership and control over things, is actually, in essence, could stem back to fear. A fear that of fill in the blank. When you really trace back why you need to own something versus, say, rent it, like a house or an apartment or a car or really anything. When you think about it, what does having ownership give you? It gives you a sense of what is mine is not yours. What is yours is not mine. And in that dynamic feeds the energy of greed, desire, which desire isn't bad, but I mean desire when it's tied to, not to get biblical or dogmatic, but coveting, like the type of, why am I at a loss for words? On very such a common, kind of drawing a blank. I'll just be cutting this out. So since I'm cutting this out, and I'm running out of time too, I'm gonna pause it. So just think about the energy that's at play in a traditional transaction. The owner of something advertises that that's for sale. You see that it's being sold. You see that it's something you desire. You go seek it out and offer the owner an exchange of energy for that item to now become yours and no one else's. Unless, if you were open to it and someone had the right price, you could sell it, obviously, but that is ownership. That's the traditional, that's the energy exchange of the transfer goods from one person to another. Now, when there's an imbalance of energy, which we know that there is in this world, the desire remains the same. The owner remains the same. The advertisement remains the same. The desire remains the same. Now, if a being is unable to meet that desire with adequate energy, if you know what I mean, then it becomes potentially unhealthy desire, which is that lower vibrating energy consciousness of coveting, fear of not having it, fear of stuff, like anger for not having it, like all those lower, you know what I mean? So what do we do about that imbalance of energy in a conscious world where everyone is equal? We're all conscious of our being. So in that type of world, the energy would be the same. The exchange between the traditional transaction and the conscious transaction, like in a conscious world. Only in a conscious world, there would never be an imbalance because energy would be freely distributed amongst us as we're able to what we're contributing and also what we need from the world. So this this is where it's going to turn off a lot of people who are still stuck in the to switch storage methods there. So this is the part where we need to start talking about consciousness and what a conscious society looks like, because it looks way different than the society or the paradigm that we're in right now. And it's really, the concepts that I'm talking about aren't going to make sense because you're going to be like, yeah, but how? And that's really getting back to, now we talk about what does a conscious world look like. A conscious world is conscious of your full being, everyone's full being, and not judging. So there's an understanding of open universal equality amongst, like, hierarchies, just they're gone. Like no one is above another, basically. There's two basic rules, and as long as we are abiding by those rules and existing basically for the betterment of ourselves and the betterment of, through ourselves, the betterment of humanity and the betterment of, and however I might have to go back and rephrase that. I don't know if I said it right or not, but I think for most of those listening might have got the point there of what I was trying to say. But this is where, when you think about things can't just be free because it'll get abused. Well, no, because in a conscious society, that abuse would not happen, because abuse is a low vibrating frequency. So then you may say, well, everything can't just be free. Where's it going to come from? Well, it comes from the same places that it's already coming from. It just comes in a different way. It's, what you need, you're going to be conscious of. You're going to be conscious of what you actually need, what you would, like to have, what is realistic for you in your contribution, and what in your energy. Like it's all going to come down to energy, because it already kind of does, but in a different way. We look at finite, tangible things like currency, the paper monopoly money that we transfer back and forth, that really is meaningless, but it's an idea that just keeps getting perpetuated, so it just keeps existing. But essentially, energy, right now, the energy that exists in a transaction is just taking the physical form of money at this time. But it's not always going to be that way. So I'm not saying that tomorrow all of a sudden, it's going to be good faith stewardship. Still yet to come up with a good name for that one, by the way. And, that it's just going to automatically revert into a conscious society. No, I don't know how long it's going to take, but having the mindset now of getting used to the concept of becoming stewards of everything that you have, and looking at things as less permanent, less absolute, less finding within yourself that you need less of a need to have so much, or to the degree of control that we're familiar with desiring to have over our lives. We feel like, the amount of control and the security that we get from control is a very physical, tangible thing that we can constantly kind of sample and test. Like we're always, our sympathetic nervous system is always sampling for like danger in our environment or something that might not be secure. You hear a buzzing sound, you're like, what the fuck? Is it something that's going to hurt me, or is it something that's going to annoy me? Just anything. It's automatic. Just, is it a danger? Yes, no. So we have this tendency to sample for also what is safe. Like, go to our safe things. What do we have control over? Which, in a world where control is literally stolen from us and manipulated away from us, maintaining the sense of control becomes more of a visceral need, like a deep reptilian fear brain based type of motivation to maintain that sense of control over whatever you can in your life, because knowing or unbeknownst to you, it may be being manipulated away from you at rates that are, to any energetically minded soul body, alarming. And it is what is causing the sickness within us. It is what's causing, more than I care to get into right now in this video, but the good time for a pause. In a free and conscious society moving forward, we're not going to fear for anything. when we can remove fear from our own lives, we can remove the tendency to place fear in others' lives. So, if we can remove some of the fear consciously from our lives, we can remove the tendency for us to seek out things that would trigger fear in our lives subconsciously. To seek it out subconsciously, but trigger it very realistically and subconsciously, I suppose. But I digress. The fear is the only thing that's really holding us back from consciousness. There, I just cracked it. I'm sure it's been said before. But overcoming some of the fears is how we progress and we move past the this whole thing, the stewardship, energetic currency, this whole discussion, this whole series is stemming back to that damn documentary. And I knew it was corrupt. I knew our financial system was bullshit, and the economic system, the government, like the whole thing is just a massive sick joke. But I actually didn't see some of the things that I now understand until I watched that documentary. Like the whole, you can basically draw a line from Reagan to current day. There are many metrics that trend similarly that are not good for us and very good for the military industrial complex and the power elite and all the whatever you want to call them, robber barons, all the way up. Good for everyone but us. Ever since Reagan. Well, I mean, and before Reagan, in 1913, the fucking Federal Reserve Act, the Titanic, all those bankers that mysteriously died, and all of the scandal just in the last 100 or so years. The world that I came into in the 80s, what I've seen it become, where we are now, a lot of people have questions right now. A lot of people who are less aware to this shit. I mean, I guess the more aware, the less. Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. The less aware you are to things, the less crazy things are going to seem, I guess. Like, you're just going to be blind to the illusion and fully embedded in the matrix. The less embedded you are in the matrix, the more you see the matrix, the more it's like, holy shit. Like, but you can't help but really fucking hope that you're not going to be or become one of the few who actually end up seeing it. I hope it's more than few. it's it's feeling like more and more, but it also feels like some of the ones who have voices now, like big voices, and have success and have money, still aren't like awake, like enlightened. Like they may see things about the world and they may understand things about the government and this or that, but haven't actually like had it turn on and like, oh my god, there's more to this shit than we realized. But it's the trappings of the ego, of course. And I mean, we all must remain somewhat still attached to our ego, and that is life, literally, in this physical plane. But that being said, how much, you know, I don't know. Like one moment, feel like you're there, like you've gone, you've reached Everest, like there must not be much more, and then you get another download, and it's like, whoa, okay, it didn't really open any abilities, but I just understand more now. And then you get another download, and holy shit, okay, didn't really see that perspective, but I appreciate it, and you move forward. And it's kind of like ever since that big one in the beginning, it just kind of gets a little more and more dialed down in a way, just kind of less exciting, but ultimately you're there. It's just you're getting more and more refined at it. So when I say like enlightened or awakened, I mean like when your cosmic egg cracks and you can see truth, and you can understand good and bad, and like your heart is really there, and your mind and heart are aligned, and like you're one within your soul body, and perfectly centrally centered and grounded, and all those great things. Like they're great things, each one of them. All of that, once it's being taught to people, like talked about, shared openly, just we're teaching we're bringing to the point where it's going to start before conception, with people who are conscious and enlightened, awakened to these things. Why did I have to go and have 2 kids before I understood the potential that exists in what I could have done differently? Not like, I'm not going to get into that, but as far as like the fine tunement that you can do, the understanding of exactly what we are and how we learn and how just it all works, knowing that, and then also like having the opportunity to guide a light from, or guide a young light from birth to you know full being. Once we get to that point and we're cultivating enlightened conscious people, instead of cultivating, I mean, obviously we, part of the coming into this world is the forgetting, so that's a natural part of it. But the trappings of the ego would have us so twisted and confused on how things really are in this world. And to have it be exactly, it's not just a mirror, but it's an upside down mirror because it's inverted and it's upside down from what it's just as backward as it could possibly be. And so the reason I say that is because within this world of fear and upside downness, it's natural to want to seek out absolute tools for control, like the tool of ownership. It is very much a tool for control over, just call it an individual's reality. Like, you know, the more things you own, a lot of people get into that. The more things they own, the more thing, and that's where, like, you know, it can become like dangerous because the more things they think that the more things they own, the more power, the more they're gonna have, feel whole, or, you know, feel in control. But it's an illusion. They keep bringing things in, but they never get that feeling of wholeness. That's kind of the same thing, is because they're feeding essentially a feeling of fear that they don't have control. So they're feeding it by bringing in all kinds of things that in turn aren't going to make them happy, because one, their original intention was not based in a higher consciousness, higher vibrating frequency of love and everything above the, you know, on the scale of consciousness. That's the first step. That, and then so their intention that fueled it, that started it, or the intention that sparked it, was coming from a place of low vibration. And then the energy behind it, the fuel, was also coming from that low vibrating energy. They, what's that phrase? Do not sow in fear, or no, do not harvest in fear what you've sown in love. So you take the energy from your labor, being money, that you've sown in love for yourself, for your ability to produce. You take that, what you've sown in love, and now you're harvesting it in fear by taking that love, and now with the energy of fear, trying to buy something that you're hoping is going to make you whole, versus taking that love energy, that money that you had, and putting it towards, you know, something that is aligned with universal truth. So that's why right now the idea of free and open stewardship is going to sound nuts to people. You might have already, some of you probably already turned me off. I'm not going to say all of you, because why would I? But once you fully understand that it's that our system, the way things are right now, is built on this fear, and that fear in the long run never works. It never works out. Love always must and does, will and does prevail over fear. But it must be embraced. Love must be loved. If you're coming from a place of fear, you can't love love. You need to open up to love. Shed your fear. Open up to the love. Open that connection between heart and mind through the, they say it's through the, but I don't fully understand our throat chakra yet. It may be the most undetailed chakra of them, as far as learning about, its function, what its energetic role within your body, not just, yeah, it makes your voice, outward, but what is your what is your voice, your phonetic voice, and your inner voice? Is that also coming from your okay? So when we bridge that connection between heart and mind, we're opening up a portal, a gateway, essentially, to go from your third eye to your crown chakra, and then you're connecting to universal truth from there. Once you see universal truth, that's when things light up. That's when things really illuminate for you. Like, it's like everything becomes just, the fog goes away from things. The things that you might have doubted before just become like, painfully apparent, to put it, for lack of a better way. And within that paradigm of consciousness, of higher consciousness, is where some of these wild ideas thrive. That's where they will exist. But yeah, I'd like to see it happen tomorrow, though. That'd be nice. It really does just take people watching these videos, and I don't even feel like, yeah, now I'm a little bit more used to it, but at first you really don't feel like you're like, should I be the one putting out videos? I don't know, but someone's got to, because at present I'm not seeing as many people as I'd like to be seeing who are operating at higher levels of consciousness as I'd like to be seeing. I think that worked. Yeah, because this one's getting long, so I think I'm already going to have to chop it in half, so just leave it there and keep doing what you're doing, making yourself better every day, and never stop spreading your light.